Welcome to Straight Lines. I'm Tim Neiman. This is where life lessons meet leadership, where business gets a dugout seat, and where sports gives us more than box scores. It gives us blueprints. Whether you're managing a team, building a brand, or just trying to lead yourself better, you're in the right place. Because here on Straight Lines, we believe the shortest distance between purpose and progress is truth, clarity, and action. I am so excited and honored today to have the guest today is Kevin Daley. What a broad background and a true superstar in the speaking business for sure, and has an amazing background with the Harlem Globetrotters. We're obviously talk some about that as well. But Kevin, can't thank you enough, my friend, and I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Coach, I'm excited and I appreciate you having me on. We've been connected for a while now, and just to see the great things that you're doing. You did great things as a coach in baseball, but now you're just transforming it all for after your baseball coaching career, and it's great to see. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
I appreciate that, and honestly, my friend, I owe all of it to you. You've got me rolling here and created a bit of a monster, if you will. So you grew up born in Panama. How long were you in Panama?
Dude, I was 13 years old when we moved to Los Angeles, California, barely being able to speak English, but I managed.
You're doing pretty good.
Yes, still learning.
Yeah. So you were there and then moved to California.
Yeah.
Take us through some high school. You were at university and through college. You were at Nevada, and then UCLA, and then beautiful Azusa Pacific on top of that. So maybe take us through some of those decisions.
No, absolutely. So when I moved to the LA area, it was inner city. Um, Basketball was my love, so that kind of made me some friends. And so I went to high school there, Lusinger High School, and eventually, so I was there for 2 years. Eventually, my dad wanted to move to another area. I was upset, not happy because I'm leaving my friends behind, but it turned out to be the best thing for me. So we moved to Lakewood, California, and I went to Artesia High School. And it happened to be a basketball powerhouse at the time. Back then we had Charles O'Bannon, Ed O'Bannon had just graduated from there, Andre Jones. The most recent one would be James Harden. So uh, I just stumbled on that school. And in my junior year, I went from barely making the varsity team to eventually becoming the MVP of the league the same year. So that it helped me a lot because my high school coach, Wayne Marino, we worked out lunch during practice, after practice, in the mornings, on Saturdays, on Sundays. So I didn't know anything about that till I got to that school. So eventually I was able to earn a college scholarship to Nevada Reno. Was the only freshman playing on a basketball team. As a freshman, not much was expected to me, but I probably played, I don't know, 10 minutes a game or something like that. Not a big, didn't make an impact. However, that summer after that school, that school year, I was playing in different summer leagues, and I was playing with Cameron Dollar, which was one of the players that won the national championship at UCLA in 1996. Right. So, and that was just a year before that time frame. And we were playing, and he said, "Hey, you know what? Have you ever considered coming to UCLA? I think you'd be good enough to come and play with us." And he brought the head coach over to come watch me play, and he liked what he saw, and they invited me to come over. Now, I didn't have any issues with Nevada Reno, but that's going from a mid major to a
Yeah.
powerhouse that was just at the top a
Well,
year before, and it's home too, back to LA. So it was a no brainer, and I went there. First year, I had to red shirt. Today they don't really have to do that much, right? So I had to red shirt.
and you'd be getting paid too, the NIL money. Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. So I was practicing with the team. I did everything with the team. I just couldn't play in the games. But then during that year, Jim Herrick, he was fired. And when he was fired, I felt that I was fired. So I played 1 year, and I use that word loosely, played, because I spent a lot of time on the bench. Um, I would have meetings with the coach, say, "Hey, coach, I feel like I need to be playing, but obviously you don't. So just tell me what I need to do to work on. What do I need to work on to get on the court?" He would tell me, "You're doing everything that you can. You're doing everything great. Look to see some more time," and nothing would happen. So I would rather him tell me what do I need to work on so I can go and grind it out. So eventually I made a tough decision to leave because I had aspirations of playing past college and I could not do it from being on the bench. I went to Azusa Pacific, which was the one of the top NAIA schools. Reason why I went to NAIA because I had just transferred from D1, then I would have lost a year. Big complications. So I was able to still play 2 years at Azusa. I eventually got MVP of the league, a scoring title, was in the top 10 in every, never done before, was in the top 10 in every category that you can mention for the league. Scoring, assists, rebounds, blocks, free throws, 3-point percentage, everything that you can think of, because I just dedicated myself to basketball. And then after that, that's when my professional career started. But I'll pause there so you can ask any questions you may have.
Yeah, you mentioned you aspired to play beyond college, and is that a
Yeah.
dream of yours growing up? Before that, before a little bit of Panama, and then age 13,
Yeah.
or did that just kind of come along as you moved to Los Angeles and kind of metastasize, if you will, from that move?
It was at a very, very young age. And I'll tell you, I found out that people got paid to play basketball when I was around 5 or 6 years old. And I made a goal for myself. Like, I want somebody to pay me for something that I'll be willing to do for free anyway. And that was basketball. So I never had a team that I wanted to play for. I never had a league that I wanted to play for. I just wanted somebody to pay me to play basketball. And I tell you what, my first time getting a check, I was in Costa Rica. My check was $1,000. The coach handed me the check in practice. I took it in an envelope. It was in an envelope. I ran to my apartment. I closed the door and I opened it and I just cried because although it's only $1,000, I reached my goal of somebody paying me. Now that day I made another goal, which was I gotta get paid more than this because this is not enough, right? But I achieved that goal.
That I mean, that's a great story too, and I know that feeling.
Yeah,
Being a college coach and wait, I'm getting paid for something I like to do, coach.
right.
This is pretty cool. And
Abs-
as the saying goes, I never worked a day in my life, and I
Absolutely.
didn't. And since retiring, I feel like I'm never working a day in my life. I enjoy what I'm doing now, and a lot again with your help and guidance. Was there any influence on you? Anybody particular? You mentioned one coach, but anybody specific who said, "All right, Kevin, here's the road we're going to go on here."
You know what? I think my high school coach, he made me believe that I could make something out of this basketball. Now, that was my goal, but that doesn't mean that I knew that it is something that I could do. And he put in that hard work in me. He taught me what that was because I didn't know what it was. The high school that I was at prior, I thought I was good, but I wasn't. I wasn't until I got amongst other people who were good. And I said, you know what? I am really not that good. Let me go work. I could jump high, but I don't know. I didn't know anything about screens and all this. So he made me believe and gave me that confidence. And once I got a hold of that confidence, that was it. That was it.
Do you we all have mentors. Is anybody still a mentor to you to this day? Anybody in your life like, this is my go-to guy. I got to give this guy a call.
Yeah, it's usually I tend to gravitate towards older people than me, right? So I have several people that are mentors in different areas of my life, right? If I want to do business, family, friendships, and I don't think they're not official mentors, right? Like I don't, but they act the part of a mentor. So I would say there's several people that are in my life, and I'm a mentor to several others as well, without even signing up for it. But I enjoy it.
Yeah, that you are. And I don't think mentoring is really something we all seek and
Yeah,
search out for. I think it's something that comes because of credibility and trust. I think is a big deal. Um, somebody that can actually give me real advice as opposed to blowing smoke where the sun doesn't shine. None of we don't
absolutely.
need that. We need the real truth. All right. So after Azusa, we went to this. I want to see if there's anything between these two things. After Azusa, we went to this outfit called the Harlem Globetrotters. Sweet
Yes.
Georgia Brown. Anything between those two occurrences?
Yeah, quite a few things. Well, I played in different countries in their professional leagues. I also played for my national team, which was another goal of mine. When we got to the US, I remember talking to my dad. I was 13, 14, and my dad was saying, "Wouldn't it be cool if you were to go back and represent Panama?" And again, I was I was nowhere near that. And I said, "Man, that would be cool." And I was able to go back and represent my country, which is the greatest honor as an athlete that I've ever received in my life, to be able to join the team and go to other countries and have Panama in front of me. So that was the ultimate for me. And I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but I dabbled in some acting here and there as well. And then I joined the Globetrotters in 2004.
2004. That's unbelievable. And you're with the Trotters for 10 years, I believe.
That's
Correct?
correct. Yep.
Okay. You were captain for how many years?
10.
And you were
It
captain the
took
whole 10. All
it
right.
took it took a matter of a few months to become. I think I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing with the Globetrotters either. I didn't know. All I knew was highlights and clips that I've
How did
seen.
that,
Yeah,
how did that all happen? How did you get connected with them?
yeah. So it wasn't that much different than any other basketball team. I was playing in the summer leagues in Los Angeles in between professional jobs. I so happened to be playing with Paul Pierce, same era, same area. Paul Pierce, Celtics legend.
Probably Hall of
So,
Famer.
yep, yep. So my mentality was, I know, So at the time, I'm hungry, like literally hungry, like no money, no nothing. So I'm thinking I need to find my next gig, my next basketball gig. One thing that I knew is that people were going to come to the game to watch Paul Pierce. And I was saying some of those people may know my name because that's in LA. But one thing, I'm going to make sure that everybody that comes to that arena knows my name. Right. So I used to treat those games as if it was my game 7 of the NBA championships, because I'm looking for a job. And it's crazy because I had nowhere to stay. A guy, the mayor of West Covina, a city in Los Angeles area, found out and he gave me 2 weeks stay at a hotel. Okay. And 3 days before I was supposed to move out, my phone rings and it's the Harlem Globetrotters offering me a 6-digit contract. So literally from nothing in my bank account to 6 digits, a contract with the Globetrotters. And I cried, right? But
So
it was, I didn't know exactly what I was getting myself into. I later found out that it was well beyond basketball, but it's one of the most celebrated sports teams in the world and in the history of sports. So to be attached to that has been great.
how about your first impressions with them? Was it what you thought it would be, or what you expected it might feel like, look like?
I remember my first game, and I'm watching the game like a spectator. right? Paul Showtime Gaffney was the showman at the time. So he's the one in charge of most of the comedic bits and all that. And I'm on the bench just laughing. Like I'm a fan. But there was one specific situation that happened that let me know that this is more than just basketball. I was signing autographs after a game. I was the captain of the team at that time already, but it was early on. And a lady came up to me and she said, "Hey, do you mind signing my jeans?" And I signed thousands of autographs. So I don't remember everybody, but I signed hers. And for some reason, I remember her when she wrote me an email that same night. And she said, "Hey, thank you for the autograph. Thank you for the way you treated me." Because usually I interact with the fans and, maybe a joke here and there. "Thank you for the way you treated me. I have battled cancer 3 times. And if this is the last thing that I do, I will go happy." That's when I realized this is well beyond basketball. We are impacting people's lives. We're making people, and I have tons of stories like that. We're making people's lives better. We're making them feel good. We're bringing families together. So that's when I say, "Wow, this is I like this. This is pretty cool."
That's outstanding. We're going to dig in a little bit more with the Globetrotters here in a second, visiting with the great Kevin Special K Globetrotter Daley, who is an amazing individual and also going to get into a lot of things Kevin's got going uh, currently. Since 1909, Baseball Blue Book has been the trusted directory for MLB scouts, and today it's grown into the most comprehensive platform in the game. But it's not just for players and coaches, it's for businesses too. Inside the Baseball Blue Book app, companies can create full profiles, promote their products or services, and even build private groups to connect directly with baseball players, parents, and coaches. Whether you're offering training, equipment, nutrition, or any service that touches the game, you now have a direct pipeline to the baseball community. If your business wants to stand out, it's time to get in the book. Download Baseball Blue Book today from Apple or Google Play. Here with Kevin Daley. We're into the Globetrotters, and man, I loved watching the Globetrotters growing up. Meadowlark Lemon and Curly Neal was,
Yeah,
back in my days, and I mean, it was always an event, and it was always amazing as how they were able to show off all that skill, and at the same time, create the showmanship that people were, they like basketball, obviously, but people came out, they wanted to see the show.
absolutely.
How hard is that? How much practice and, what's that like combining all those things?
Absolutely. We so when we were on tour, we played over 200 games in a year. So that means a lot of back-to-back games, just like a rock band, because we were just going from city to city. But we practiced before every single game. They weren't really tough practices. Maybe we'll go over something that we would like to have done better the day before, right? Or something that I wanted to try the following game or whatever. But we practice every single day. And one of the things that we always practice was the ball handling, that dazzling, because I didn't even know how to spin the ball on my finger before when I joined the team. So I had to learn all that. Now I can spin it on my finger, my head, all kind of things. And now shooting the half court hook shot, I never shot a half court hook shot before it. So that was one of the things that I used to do. So we practice all the time. Another thing too, if you watch the game, everything looked like it just was so easy for us, right? Even when I pass the ball, the guy just appears out of nowhere, like and catches it. That timing, all of that was practice, practice, practice. And I was such a perfectionist. Some of my teammates hated it because I want to practice and get this right. So that's what it took.
Yeah, I mean, it's a show and it's an incredible show. Even to this day, probably, I don't think it's lost its lure of what the Globetrotters stand for, but there seems like there's so many other options these days
Yeah,
for
right.
people for entertainment, I mean, all those kinds of things. But it's still, it's kind of must see, at least once in the lifetime. And certainly for the kids, and they become Globetrotter fans, for the rest of their lives. How
Absolutely.
about something maybe memorable or really funny, perhaps that jumps in your mind from all those 10 years with the Harlem Globetrotters?
Well, we always have little funny things here and there, but I think for me the most memorable things was the people that I got to meet throughout my travels, presidents, religious leaders, the huge politicians, being to the White House, traveling to I've been to 102 countries. So traveling and seeing different cultures and seeing how other people live, their beliefs, you know, going to Dubai made me want to make more money. Going to India made me want to give more money. So I learned so much that a book could never teach me, and it gave me so many experiences. The money eventually runs out, but the experiences, they stay with you. It taught me about people, how to interact with people, how to deal with people from different backgrounds, how to respect people's beliefs and cultures, right? And not try to inject my beliefs into them when I'm in their country. So many, many memorable moments traveling with the team.
What great life lessons those are, and 102 countries. It's incredible. Most of us don't get to two countries. Most of us don't get outside of the United States. I mean, it's a giant, big world out there. Had an opportunity to go to Germany last summer. It was, a little bit eye opening, a lot what I expected, but looking forward to, perhaps getting to other places as well, and just realizing this is one heck of a large planet we live on, a big
Absolutely.
world with a lot of good people. I mean, a lot of good people, and they all do, what they need to do to survive and flourish in a lot of cases. And there's a lot of haves and have-nots. Obviously, as you have seen. Favorite country? Maybe you have a favorite place you went.
Yeah. So I get asked that question a lot. And I think I like different countries for different reasons. I think Brazil is one of my favorite because I enjoyed the culture and the people, how happy they were, and like no worries type of thing, right? I enjoyed Hong Kong because I was able to get some nice custom made suits, and I love the big lights, and I love the food in Italy. When I was in Italy, I enjoyed the food, but I think for the most part, I love the Latin American side, maybe because that is my background coming from Panama, and the reaction that I was getting. I'm the only Globetrotter in the history of the team, which is 1 year next, 100 years next year, that has conducted the entire show 100% in a different language. Because I did it in
Wow.
Spanish. We went to Latin America. Now, every country we go to, I learn just at least a phrase or a word or two in their language because people love that. But I was able to do it in these Spanish speaking countries in Spanish. So I think my experience was a lot greater in those countries because of the reaction. They weren't used to that. They were not used to it. So, yeah.
That we're visiting with the amazing Kevin Daley, Special K, former Harlem Globetrotter captain for 10 years, a gentleman that has built not only a legacy with the Harlem Globetrotters, but a legacy moving forward, after the Globetrotters, and certainly an amazing, smart individual, that's doing great things in this world. We're going to touch on some of those as well. But he is building his legacy. Wrote a book called "What Is Your Legacy?" When the game is over, what will people remember about you? My book, "What Is Your Legacy?" challenges leaders, athletes, and everyday people to think beyond the scoreboard. It's about purpose, impact, and the mark you leave on others. If you're ready to define your legacy and live it with intention, this book will guide the way. Get your copy of "What Is Your Legacy?" today and start shaping the story only you can tell. Back with Kevin Daley, and I'm just, again, just thrilled to have you with us. How about, so you and I think on the same page a lot of time with leadership, trying to make an impact on others. Anything you've learned? I'm sure you've learned a ton of things from that experience with the Harlem Globetrotters, but Anything that sticks out in your mind from a leadership aspect that you learned from being with the team?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't. So I think one of the things, as soon as you said that, that just stood out to me is that you can't lead all people the same way, right? People have different personalities, different strengths, different ways that they're motivated. So you have to learn that person or that group of people and lead them accordingly, right? For me, you know, I don't, coming from a sports background, I don't mind my leader telling me straight up, this is it. You're messing up, blah, blah, blah. But to some people, you will lose them if you tell them, if you lead them that way. Right. So I think it's all about knowing how to lead different individuals.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, you got to kind of meet them where their feet are sometimes, and it's not all about what we want to impose on, a certain group or individuals. I think one of the things over the course of my lifetime, and I think you might concur, is one of the hardest things to do is learn how to listen. I
Yeah.
don't people talk, they don't want to listen, and I think that's a skill that is so important, especially if you want to make an impact on some other people. You just need to take a little time and listen to them, and not impose, what your will is. For instance, and what's basketball? How has that helped you connect? You've talked about over 102 countries. I mean, basketball was the common denominator, I guess, and connecting across all those cultures.
Absolutely. I think just being part of a team, you're usually with some people that have different backgrounds. Maybe they were raised a different way than you. So that alone helps you with dealing with other people. I had one of my good friends now. He is the tallest person in Europe, the continent of Europe, Paul Sturgis, and he's from the UK. That's a completely different background than me, right? And he's one of my good friends now. I think that is the beauty of traveling. That is the beauty of it, is being able to connect with people. Oh, to me, that's the most beautiful thing.
I mean, so you've, man, I think that's great. How tall is he, by the way?
I believe he is 7'8", I believe 7'8" or 7'7".
You
Yeah,
could change the angel on top of the Christmas tree with no problem. And you're
right.
6 foot five, 6'6",
Yeah, 6'5".
6'5". I'm 6 foot three-ish. I think I was four. And man, think of you. I mean, we're tall guys. seven
Yeah.
foot eight.
Oh
Holy
yeah.
smoke.
I have a picture next to him, and I look like Kevin Hart next to him.
um, Teamwork, perseverance through all those years with the Globetrotters as we kind of wrap up this second segment. Kind of talking about the Globetrotters. Um, Lessons from that. Anything that sticks out for you?
Um, you know, one thing with the Globetrotters, like I mentioned before, we played every single day, but every day was a different audience, right? So one thing that I learned is no, it didn't matter what you did yesterday, because today there's a new audience that pay their money to come see us. It may be one of two things: their first time watching us or their last time watching us. Either way, you want to make a lasting impression. So I learned to bring it every single day, even the days that I didn't want to. Because, yeah, I'm human. Some days I did not feel like it. Some days my leg hurt, my knee hurt, I'm tired. I'm sleepy because we just traveled 12 hours, right? But one thing that I learned is like, hey, it didn't, I would remind myself somebody's first time, somebody's last time. So I got to bring it. I got to, there's a kid that this may be his Christmas present to come watch, to come to the game. So I've been able to do the same away from basketball, in my speaking and all that. It's just, I got to bring it every single time. I got to bring it.
Yeah, I talk about having butterflies, and I think you as a performer and a player for the Globetrotters, and now as a renowned speaker, which we're going to talk about. You know, I I was speaking to somebody the other day. I mean, I want as a coach, I always had those butterflies, right? I mean,
Yeah.
writing a lineup card, getting a game, running a game. But since now I've walked away from that, the butterflies of doing this podcast with a guy like you, podcast of getting on a stage, because it is maybe their first time, and we get that first time to make a lasting impression. Reminds me, I saw something about Mickey Mantle, and somebody asked him, "Well, why don't you celebrate what like today's some of the stuff goes on? It's kind of ridiculous, but why do you run the bases with your head down?" And he didn't jog; he ran. Why do
Mm.
you run your bases? He said, "Because some little kid might be watching me, and I want to set an example,
Yeah.
and I don't want him to think I'm anything different than a baseball player, and like I've done it before." And I think that's you know pretty good advice for. I wish
Love
some of the folks playing the game today would look at that. Again, here with Kevin Daley, building his own legacy, and he knows all about team killers, I'm sure, along the way. In every workplace and every team, there are unseen forces that can derail success. In my book, Team Killers, I uncover the behaviors, attitudes, and habits that destroy chemistry and show you how to build a winning culture instead. If you're a leader, coach, or teammate who wants lasting success, this book is your playbook. Get your copy of Team Killers today and protect your team from the inside out. All right, we're gonna get into well, I really want to talk about the speaking stuff you're doing, and I think the places you've been and all that. But before we get into that, we had a little famous commercial,
it.
where you were with Michael Jordan. You're in a body double, correct? With Michael Jordan, almost the same size. You might have been 6'6". Kind of look like him. I think you probably played better than him. You just didn't get a chance.
Thank
Right?
you.
That's right. How did that all come about? And you know, you were also featured and coupled with us in an acting role in a film called Sweetwater. I think was released 2023. So
Yes.
take us through the commercial and little Sweetwater, and then we're going to talk some speaking.
Absolutely. So again, playing in the summer league in Los Angeles, I was out there like it was my championship, and I had a lot of highlight dunks. I've always been known to be a high flyer. So come to find out, they were looking for someone who could do the same dunks that Michael Jordan could do back in '96 in that that hot time when they were out there beating everybody. Also, the same frame as him back then, the same skin tone. They went to New York, LA, Detroit, Chicago, and they couldn't find the perfect mix. They could find somebody that could do dunks, but didn't have the same frame as him, or vice versa. And eventually, they found me. So the guy came out, put me on a camera, and then went back and sent it to the director. He said he'd never seen the director so excited, jumping out of his seat, like that's the guy. And actually, to tell you a little backstory, I was with the Globetrotters. I had just signed with the Globetrotters. And then this opportunity came about. The Globetrotters, they did not want me to do it. So I turned it down. And I told them the only way that I could do it is if you buy out my contract, because I'm going to lose my job if I do it. And then they next day they said, "Here's your flight." So come on.
Wow.
So they bought out my contract for a year for a commercial. It took me 3 days to film. And then 2 years later, I went back with the Globetrotters. At that time, I hadn't even played a game with them. I was just signed. But then 2 years later, I went back, and that's when I did the 10 years. So I tell you, when I walked up on the court, Michael Jordan was already standing there, and I walk up to him, and I'm so excited, but I'm keeping it all in, and I extend my hand to greet him and tell him my name. And before I could even say it, he said, "How you doing, Kevin?" And I'm like, wow, Michael Jordan knows my name. I'm going crazy inside, but I'm keeping it cool. And then the director says, he walks up to us. He said, "All right, guys, this is what I want you guys to do. I want y'all to play one-on-one against each other, and I want you guys to play for real." And I'm like, wait a minute. You want me to play one-on-one against Michael Jordan for real? And I need y'all to talk trash to each other. So for those who don't know, this was a commercial when the current Michael Jordan, which he was still playing with the Wizards, played one-on-one against the older version Michael Jordan, which was the Chicago Bulls version. I was the Chicago Bulls version. He was him. And we played a one-on-one. I was scared, timid, not being myself. He goes around me and he dunks on my face. As a basketball player, that's the worst thing that you could ever do. Everybody are looking around, everybody's laughing. The cameraman, they high-fiving. He walks up to me, hey, yeah, you didn't think I still had it, did you? I'm like, whoa, okay. So at that moment, I say, you know what? This is it. I'm not looking at him as Michael Jordan anymore. 3 plays later, I go around, I'm still coming down because I jumped as high as I could possibly jump, and I dunked it in his face. And I'm looking around expecting everybody to be high-fiving and cheering like they were when he did it to me, and it was dead silent, right? And the only person that was excited was the director, because that's what he wanted to catch, right? And then he walked up to me and he was like, hey, man, don't forget this is only a commercial, right? But we had a good time. Took us 3 days. I filmed some other commercials with him, but that was just the most iconic one. So I always had a love. I've done Nike, Gatorade, Powerade, Jordan Brand, Reebok. I've done several. I've done commercial. You talked about the movie. So
Yeah, Sweetwater.
Yeah, Sweetwater. So Nat Sweetwater Clifton was the first African American to sign a contract in the NBA. So
Wow.
this movie is about him. He happened to be a former Harlem Globetrotter. They got him from the Globetrotters to go with the Knicks. So I got the opportunity to play Goose Tatum, one of his teammates. Goose Tatum was Meadowlark before Meadowlark. He is up there. So very great cast. Jeremy Piven. I mean, great cast. The movie has won awards now. It was in theaters. Now it's on Amazon and on Apple TV. Won quite a few awards. I was also, this is a trivia, I also choreographed all of the basketball scenes, even if I was in them or not. Anything that involved the basketball, I choreographed it. And I was an actor, and I was in the first half of the movie. And then the second half, he went on with the Knicks, so I was no longer there. But it was another one of my goals that I had. Like I always said, I want to be in a movie. And this was a great project to be involved in. So much fun, and I can't wait for the next one.
I'm sure there will be. And it's the name of the film is Sweetwater, and it's
Sweet.
on Amazon, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, please tune in and watch that. And you know Kevin Daley as well, so even more of a reason to go ahead and tune into that baby. That'll be outstanding.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into what your main focus pretty much is now, and that is you are a renowned speaker, a sought after speaker. Um, everything I've hear and read, and probably the best. I mean, you are sought after like nobody's ever been. Um, what, what's what's your core message? Like, so if I come to hear Kevin Daly speak, and I want to leave, what's the message you want me to take with you? And I'll preface this by saying, and you and I have spoken in the past, I don't want to be a motivational speaker. If
Right.
I motivate you, you'll be, gosh, I can't wait till this podcast is over. I motivated you.
Yeah.
If right? If I inspire you, then I'm living. I'm in your head. I'm with you for a while, and you walk out the door, and I've given you a thing or two that you can hang your hat on and can use. That for me is a goal I would want. Along with those butterflies to deliver a great, you know, keynote, if you will. But what's that for you? You want to inspire. What's your message you're going to leave? I'm listening to you. I'm walking out the door. What do you want me to go home with?
Yeah. So every keynote is tailored to the audience and what those conference the people who putting the conference together want me to speak on, right? But I
Sure.
think that the core thing that I speak on is that is all within you. Like, it's up to you to take control of your life, whatever aspect of your life that you want better, and make it better. It's not about waiting on someone to do it for you or whatever. Yes, you can access people to help you with different areas, just like I did with a coach to help me with ball handling or whatever that is. But it's all about you and finding it within you to go out there and get it, whatever it is that you want to get. Now, when I speak on leadership, I created an acronym called SMILES Leadership Formula, and that is synergy. So this, to me, this is the best way to lead your team, right? So you synergize your team, motivate, impact, you lead them, you empower them, and the last S is smile, which means just have fun while you're doing it. Make sure that you sprinkle some fun in there. It shouldn't just be all rigid, right? So, what I enjoy most about speaking is I'm no longer playing, so I feel like I am on stage, which I like being on stage and being able to have those people come to me afterwards and let me know how something that I said resonated with them, or how because of something that I said they're going to take action in a certain area, and then get back to me months later like, hey, I did this. That's what I like to see.
So I'm sure you didn't wake up one day and say, you know what, time for me to go be a keynote speaker. What was that journey? How did that light go on? Where did that, all stem from to put you on the path you're currently on?
You know, when I was young, there was nothing that I thought about doing but basketball. But once I knew that basketball eventually would be over, I started to think, okay, what can I do next? I enjoy crowds. I enjoy people. People enjoy tidbits of my story. So I said, and I learned so much throughout, right? So I said, you know what, maybe I should go out there and share this, and hopefully one or two people would gain from it. So I started doing that. It was a lot more challenging than I expected it to be. I thought I was just going to retire, boom, be on stage, but it took a little bit of work, as you know. And but once I did it, I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I like it, and it could be lucrative as well at the same time.
What advice, Kevin, do you have for people, I mean, that want to be a speaker? They want to get out there. And again, I think most people think the same way you do. Hell, I'm Tim Neiman, I'm Kevin Daley.
Yeah.
I've got this resume. Who wouldn't want to hear us, right? Who
Right.
wouldn't want to? But it's a whole lot more complicated.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's that complicated, but it is complicated. And but I think the most important part is, the work that needs to be done, the pieces that need to be put in place to go ahead and be successful, in the speaking business. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say that take a look back at different aspects of your life, different experiences of your life that you've had. It could be work related, it could be just personal, and then try to see what lessons you can pull out of those, and then see what those if those lessons could apply to people in different areas and different industries and different cultures, right? And then build your message around that. From there, now you once you have that hone in and nice and tight, now you're going to look for these conferences that have the people that could benefit from your message, right? And that's when you're going to start contacting them, letting them know what you can do for their audience, and hopefully you start getting some bookings and getting on that stage.
Yeah, I think that you've got to get up and do a great job. Obviously, if you go out, I've talked to somebody recently. I said, well, I can tell you one thing: I'm not going to suck. I'm not
Right.
going to suck.
Right.
And I think that impression, you've got to go out and and do well. And I think what happens, people will speak highly of you and talk highly of you and recommend and be a reference. And the word of mouth probably still the most, you know, efficient marketing there is out there. One person tells somebody else, like, hey, you want to get this guy, you want to have him come in and, you're going to leave with, you know, some inspiration and, some emotion, perhaps. I mean, all those kinds of things. And I think it's an exciting thing to do. Uh, how many a year do you do roughly? Would you say how many engagements?
So I would say I don't do as much because I got my hands in quite a few things, and that also requires you to leave home, right? So sometimes a lot of the travel that I like doing most today is just leisure travel, right, with the family, vacation, and having a drink with an umbrella on top of it, right? Like just relaxing. So I would say between 10 to 15 or so, which is not little, but it could also be better. It could be more.
If you ever got up on stage and like you felt like, oh boy, I'm not ready, I'm not prepared, and then the anxiety maybe takes over. Have you had any of those moments?
So I recently, I was called about speaking in New Jersey, and it was like a week out. So typically, I do a lot of research and I prepare. So for that, I was not feeling confident because I didn't feel like I put in as much time as I typically do. However, I just fell back into my natural state of, hey, I do this, right? I've done this many times. Let me go out there and I don't have to be perfect. Just make sure that I deliver the message that I want to deliver. All I focused on was my call that I have with them on what it is that they want me to touch on and make sure that, hey, talk about this, and this. And they said I was the best speaker that they ever had, literally. They said that, and I was like, wow, because I was coming in very, very nervous. So I think once what you can always focus on is if this is something that you have worked on over and over again, then you should have the confidence to go out there and do it. And guess what? Even if it doesn't go perfect, it's all right. You learn from that and you do better the next time. But it's natural to be nervous. I get slightly nervous every time, but when I don't feel that I'm the best prepared, I get more nervous. But I think it's healthy.
Yeah, I do too. I guess if you didn't feel those butterflies or you didn't feel a little bit nervous, probably shouldn't be doing it
Yeah,
because right. I do think it means you care a little bit, a
yeah,
lot of bit actually.
yeah.
And it's kind of my straight lines concept, if you will. And I think you and I might have spoken about this before, but the quick story goes, and I want to get your impressions on, straight lines and your that are in your life and the journey that you've been on. And so this story goes, I was coaching third base for Ed Ott. He was catcher in the 1979 World Series Pittsburgh Pirates. We are family. He was the catcher. He was the manager of his ball club's an independent team. And we're in Lynn, Massachusetts, a little north of Boston. And we always got there early with Ed. We were early. So I got out of the bus, put my stuff in the locker room, went across the ballpark and walked across the field and sat in the bleachers. Now, it had rained the night before, and it was pretty wet. People working the field, but there was people up on the grandstand wiping the seats down and making sure that everything was clean and dry. And also, there was a guy, like I would say, like you and me, that very professional, very classy, if you will, but you can tell he was responsible. And I'm thinking, he's out there with all the other staff, and I'm thinking there's no way he's selling popcorn, or hot dogs during the game. And
Right.
so I just kind of filed it, walked across the field, and he walked with me, and I said, I've got to tell you, I'm very impressed with the preparation and, how the perception of this whole system you've got going here, and you care for your customers. And he reached out his hand and shook my hand. He said, I don't ever get that. He said, I'm the owner of the ball club. And he turned out to be the CEO of State Street Global at the time. This is
Wow.
probably 20 years ago. So, and I would go on to say that if you want an example of straight lines, I offer you this owner of this North Shore Spirit and the CEO of State Street. Those are straight lines. You care about your customers, you care about the presentation. I mean,
Yes.
you care about all that. Now we all know the life is not straight lines. It's a series of potholes. And, I was on yesterday with Chris Denner from Dugout Mugs. Yeah, we're going to have potholes, but how fast can you change the tire,
There you
to keep going, to keep the line straight? So the straighter you keep those lines, I think, the more success you can have. And if they do get off track, try to bring them back on.
yeah.
So your perception of that, and, maybe you can think of something that, these are straight lines, and you talk a lot about preparation. And I think in life, everything's preparation. It's, you can't wing it. You can't wing it, especially in front of people that, I can wing it about in front of college players. They might, but even them, they can figure it out. But your perception on that, Kevin, as we kind of wind down here.
Yeah, the first thing when I heard the phrase straight line, the first thing that I thought about is not taking shortcuts. That's the first thing, is going straight ahead and not trying to deviate from where you're trying to go. Right now, I'm entering into playing golf, and it's one of the most frustrating things of my life because there is no shortcuts. You have to go out there and work on it if you want to be good at it. Right. So that's when I think about straight lines is being focused. Don't try to cheat it, whatever it is, and go out there straight ahead and get what it is that you need to get to excel in what it is that you need to excel. No shortcuts.
No, I think that's absolutely right. And you see them all the time now, whether it's a fast food place or, just, even my wife would go, well, those are not straight lines. And And I think it keeps you focused, this podcast and anything else you want to do. The straighter you keep those lines, the better. Kevin, if somebody wants to hire you, how do they get in touch with you? They want to get
Yeah.
you the best speaker on the face of the earth.
Here
How do
we
I
go.
get Kevin?
No, absolutely. So they can go on my website of speakerkevindaley.com. That's Daley. First thing I would like to know for you to look just to see if you think that I'll be a good fit for whatever it is that you want to hire me for. I don't think that I'm the great speaker for every situation, but for quite a few, I'll be a great speaker for. I got different ranges at different companies, different type of conferences that I spoke at. And I've never received an overwhelming negative feedback, right? So yeah, just you can go to the website. On that website, there's ways to contact me there for sure.
And I'm sure you've never gotten a negative feedback. I'd be shocked. And you might have to kind of search that person down if you got one and kind of get that straightened out a little bit. Um, thanks for joining me on Straight Lines, where leadership lessons meet the game of athletics, basically in sports. Remember, leadership is about drawing straight lines, even when life throws you curveballs. If you enjoyed today's show, share it with a teammate, subscribe and connect with me on social media for more insights. And if you want to dive deeper, check out my books, Team Killers and What is Your Legacy? Until next time, lead with clarity, play with purpose, and keep your lines straight. Kevin Daley, can't thank you enough, my friend. Great to see you today and catch up with you. And I appreciate everything you've done for me. And I appreciate your friendship and look forward to staying in touch with you in the future.
Absolutely, coach. I'm very happy to see you having a great transition from full-time coaching to retirement. That's what I want to be able to do when it's my time. So I appreciate you for sharing some of that time with me, and thank you for inviting me to the podcast. This is fantastic.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.